Well, hi there. This is Ron Rogers, and I want to tell you about one more airport permanently destroyed. In my 54 years of flying, I've seen a lot of airports, unfortunately, just get replaced by drag racing centers, by shopping marts, things like that. And this one is a very sad one because it's a very historic airport. It's Grand Geneva, up by Lake Geneva. Now, some of you may be familiar with the Grand Geneva Resort, but before Grand Geneva was the Grand Geneva Resort, it was a Playboy Club. And it was one outside of Chicago, but it had its own runway, and you could fly in there. And yeah, the it was kind of interesting. It's featured in the magazine, and they show the bunnies around the pool and stuff like that. And I can't show those pictures for copyright reasons. That's it, copyright reasons. I can't show those pictures, but they're very nice pictures of the bunnies around the pool, but this is a whole different time. It closed in 1981, and I actually have a friend who had several Playboy keys and had been to Playboy clubs in London and just all over the place. And he actually dated a Playboy bunny at one time. Obviously, a lot more cool than I was. But yeah, a very interesting time. I saw a Playboy club from the outside in Kansas City. I was on an Air Force cross country, and I was a second lieutenant, and the captain I was with was visiting his father, who had a Playboy club key, and he showed me the key, and we went by the Playboy Club, and I saw a bunny helping some guy out of a car. But that is as close as I have ever been to a Playboy club, although he did give me some souvenir stuff, glasses, ashtrays, swizzle sticks, stuff like that. So that's my connection. But here's the deal, how this little Playboy club would work. It had its own runway. So what you would do was you would fly your fancy aircraft in there. And okay, yeah. When I was in high school, there was a flying magazine article, and gosh, I wish I still had it, and I can't locate it on the internet, unfortunately. But the article was about a guy flying his Piper 140, and the bunny is up there on the wing with a bottle of champagne. And I go, yeah, right. You fly one of these things in, she's going to come up there and hit you with the bottle of champagne and tell you to get it out of the way so the rich guys can come in. But I don't think you're going to impress a bunny with a Piper 140. Sorry, Piper 140 guys out there. But here's the airport, okay? I could still find it up on AirNav, and it has the runway information there. It was a nice 4,100 foot long runway, but over the years it had become very untaken care of. Let's put it that way. It had really gone downhill. I actually flew a couple touch and goes on it in my Great Lakes a while ago, and it was in pretty bad condition. In fact, I had checked that it was open before I went up there, but when I got back home, I checked one more time to make sure it was an open airport. Now it says closed permanently, but at the time it was still open, and I was legal. But it was just in terrible condition. The asphalt was deteriorating and everything like that. So I had heard from some friends that it had been closed and then just actually bulldozed over. So here's how it used to look in better days. Up at the top of the end of the runway there was a little bunny shack, and that's where the bunnies stayed. And they would come out to greet you. And the Grand Geneva Resort is located. They would have a little trolley that would come down and pick you up. And several times I'd fly people in there in my 310 typically, and then we'd just go up and have the buffet at the Grand Geneva Resort. It was much after the Playboy Club had closed, but we'd go up there for a nice buffet dinner. But the airport was in fairly good condition. It was manned with people, to attend you. But I decided, okay, I've got to find this. So I take my Great Lakes, and I'm going to go up there, and I'm looking at this. See this spot coming up here? It's a long stretch that's been all torn up. And initially I thought this was the runway because it looked like it could be the runway. The trees were about the same where you come over and you come in to land. But I'm a little confused here because although this looked like it would have been the runway, it's just a little too far away from the resort. The resort's much more ahead. And like you saw from the picture, you could easily walk from the runway where you parked, and there would be a number of airplanes up there. A lot of people would fly in. It was a great time, and you could just walk up there. But this is a little too far out. And I went back and I looked at the picture, and I'm going, yeah, this doesn't this just doesn't make sense. It's a little too far out. It looks like it should be there because that's how, when they destroy an airport, that's what it looks like. But there was a little bit of lake off the end, kind of the lake that I'm coming up here to. You see that? And the resort there. Now, the the brown area there, that I think looks more like where the airport would have been. It's not the right shape, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Maybe somebody who knows the area better could fill me in a little bit, but it just didn't make sense. I mean, replaced it a little bit with a golf course. See, there it is again. It's just a little too far out because you didn't take off over a golf course at all. You right off the end of the runway, as you saw in the picture, was that pond there. So I looked around a little bit, tried to figure out if anything makes sense, like that little area down there again. That pretty much looks like it's near where it was, but I couldn't find any. I mean, that's what's sad about it. I could not find any indication that there'd ever been an airport there. It was just so destroyed, which is really kind of sad. But I flew around a little bit trying to, get some pictures of the area, try to figure out what's going on, and decided that, there it is again. It's just too far out. It's just too far out. So it's got to be this area here closer. That's the only thing I could think. But it looks different than I'd seen it, and I hadn't been up there. It hadn't been too long, a little bit more than a year, but nothing just looked familiar. But okay, Grand Geneva is next door to Lake Geneva. You see it off the nose there coming by, and Lake Geneva is a really, that's where the really rich people go. They used to have some Chicago people come out to my lake, which is Crystal Lake, and they had their summer houses there and stuff, and the people would come up there. But the real wealth went up to Lake Geneva, and boy, if you like to play golf, there's plenty of golf courses out there. Of course, all the part that would attract me, the sand traps there. Usually, I have trouble with those little windmills and stuff. But anyway, just really no indication that an airport had ever been there. So enough of that. There's the resort again. I would often take off and go, I'd be climbing out going right by the resort so you could look down in the pool and everything. The bunnies, of course, are long, long gone. But, it's a nice resort, but it's not the Playboy Club as it used to be. And the funny thing is there's a little display in Grand Geneva there, and it shows some of the memorabilia. But my friend who gave me some of his memorabilia, he says I've got more memorabilia at home than they do in the Grand Geneva resort there that they've got on display. So he was quite a collector of that. But anyway, that is the sad tale of the destruction of one more airport. Now, okay, I kind of gave up. So it was time. Let's go take a look at Lake Geneva just a little bit, because Lake Geneva has a lot of fun activities, and we have some friends who actually have kind of season passes for going on the boat tours up at Lake Geneva. They actually deliver mail off of a boat, and it's kind of funny. The mail person will be in the bow, and they'll hop off, put the mail in the box, get back on the stern. The boat doesn't stop. It just keeps on going, and they have tours on it, and it's fun to watch, too. The mail delivery tour. They have architectural tours where they talk about all the various, homes and stuff like that. It's a good lake. It's still not a great lake. It's a good lake. But there's a lot of, just absolutely beautiful estates. And when I went flying over there, I went over several of these little tour boats just going around the lake. One of them's mail delivery. The other ones, they just have tours. And it is a very nice little tour. And this was kind of early in the season. It's still had a lot of activity on the lake for being early in the season. And ages ago, I'll show you where we launched it at the other end. I took my other boat up there, my ski boat, and we came and docked right below here. There's a low area to dock, and we walked in and had some seafood there at a very nice little restaurant. And the funny thing is, we were there with some friends, and we got the deep fat fried fish, and they had it was an all-you-could-eat thing, and they got the broiled fish, which of course is much more healthy. But they would look at our deep fat fried fish, and they'll go, could we have one of those? And we go, sure. And so I guess we tempted them into having the less healthy option at the time. But of course, there's a lot of people who have boats up there, and it's much more of a proposition. I guess you have a professional service that puts your boats, your docks in and out. Most of us, well, there's dock services on Crystal Lake that'll put your dock in and stuff, but I've got mine set up so I can roll it in, and then I got a winch set up so I can winch it out. I can actually install and remove the 80-some foot dock that I have and the boat lift and that all myself, just using the power of the electromotive force, electricity. But this is a nice little lake to fly out over, and like I said, there's still quite a few boats down there. It's still early in the season, but of course, when the season really gets going, this place is just absolutely full of boats, and it can get some pretty good waves on it. It's a big lake. You get the wind going, and we had some kind of 3-foot waves, which for my little 23-foot boat was quite a bit to handle. But down there you can see that's one of the tour boats right down there I'm going by. Just went under the lower wing there. And there's another thing I'll show you up here. There's an observatory that's been used in several movies. I've never actually seen it on the ground, but see, there's a little ski boat down there, somebody having fun. And there again is the tour boat going by there slowly. I think that's a tour one because it's not close enough to the docks to be delivering mail. But of course, the whole thing is just full of houses. Now, the interesting thing in Wisconsin is you can't restrict people from walking along the shoreline. Here on Crystal Lake, it's a private lake except for the main beach and West Beach, which are the community lakes. But my property goes out to the water, and technically anybody coming on my property walking across would be trespassing, but we're all good neighbors here, and we walk up and down, and but it's just kind of the local thing. But with the Wisconsin lakes and Lake Geneva, you can actually walk all the way around unrestricted. Now that would be one heck of a hike on this lake because it's big, but there supposedly you cannot restrict people from walking on the shoreline. Each state is different and stuff like that. And I guess in Illinois you can have totally private lakes that I don't know one right off, but essentially if you're not a landowner, you don't get on the lake. But everything is different with different states. But we're coming up here into the little the harbor here, and you'll be able to see the observatory up here. Like I said, it's been used in several movies. It's kind of funny to see the movies where they use it, and of course it has all sorts of different genres where it's haunted and abandoned and stuff like that. But they still use it for various activities. I'm not sure if it's a operating observatory or not, but it is up here, and we'll fly over it here momentarily. Yeah, there you can start to see it come into view there between the wings. It's got a large dome for the observatory and then some smaller ones. There it is. The big dome and then the two little ones closer in the nice little campus area. And of course, then this is the west end of the lake. And after this, I went down and shot a few patterns down at the Dacey Airport, very historic Dacey Airport. But coming into view here, off the nose to the left there, is a very large marina, and that's where I trailered my boat up from Crystal Lake, and one time put it on the lake here. Of course, the actual town of Lake Geneva, this is Walworth, I believe. The actual town of Lake Geneva is on the other side, and that's where they have a lot of restaurants. I'm sure there's a few down there too, but it seems like the more interesting activity. And look at that, there's getting to be quite a few boats down there. But the more interesting activity in the town and everything is on the east side. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little tour of where the airport used to be, and also flying over Lake Geneva. Thanks for watching.